one and all. It's my great pleasure and honor to welcome Dr. Anil Rana ji for today's session. And the topic for today's session is also very interesting, the armed forces training and its relevance in the civil world. So as you all must have seen from the salutations, Dr. Anil Rana ji is an ex-serviceman. He retired as a commander in the engineering division of Indian Navy, Indian engineering branch. He's having a 30 plus years experience in academics and industry, and he has done a PhD in reliability engineering from IIT Mumbai and M.Tech from IIT Delhi. Dr. Rana is currently serving as a director with Manipal Institute of Technology. Before that, he also worked with many reputed academic institutes in India and abroad. His research interest lies in the field of reliability engineering, maintenance engineering management, machine learning, fuzzy and neuro-fuzzy applications. He also has a long list of publications in the international and national journals, which includes various book chapters in Springer publications. Sir, we are really honored to have such a learned person like you for today's session. And the topic, as I said, because all the civilian people like us, we have a fascination about defense. Though not everyone want to go to defense side, but they really want to know and the relevance of defense training along with the civil world. So we are very much eager to learn to you, sir. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that brief introduction. In fact, I also have a presentation here, but before I start with the presentation, and maybe I think I'll have to go on and off through that. I would just like to say that I'm very honored to be here today, talking to mostly young people, I mean younger than me, of course, and sharing this experience that I have. It is true that people in defense sacrifice a lot for the country, but again, it is also true that people in the civil world also contribute immensely to the growth of the country, and they sacrifice their time that they have and the energy for the country's sake. So you also contribute, maybe in a different way. So we all contribute to the same country, and that's why we are very honored to be the countrymen of this great democracy called India. This talk is basically to share the experiences of the military training, and just to let you know that that training that we had, and we were very fortunate to have that, it's got a lot of takeaways that are relevant even for the civil world, the corporate world, and to the academic world also. So let me just begin by saying that it was in my blood, the whole armed forces thing, because we have or had a tradition of joining the forces from our great grandfathers. And I will give that story in a little while. But let me just tell you that naval training, or for the armed forces training for this, as it goes through in the academy or in various other institutions of the armed forces, is a great equalizer. Why I say that is because we have people coming from various regions of the country. We also have people coming from outside the country. So they're friendly countries who send their cadets for training in our institution. And what is amazing is you could be a rich kid, you could be poor, you could be black or white, you could be a Punjabi or a Malayali, it won't matter. Everybody goes through the same rigor and the same toughness, the same training. So therefore, it's a great equalizer, and it puts everybody on the same footing. Right from the day one, you're on the go. And initially, in fact, first 6 months, you are not even allowed to walk from point A to point B. So when you are doing so, you have got to run. So that is what is amazing about the training. But there is a reason behind everything in the training. And what is the reason? There is a purpose, or there is something coming out of a culture. So I'll give you why I say what I say. In this presentation, I've got few clippings and also 2 videos. Maybe I think it'll keep you a little engaged through the talk. So let me just try to present it. Please let me know if you are seeing the screen.
We are able to, sir. We are able to see.
All right. So I just like to begin from the story that the man on the left hand side of your screen with that beard on is my grandfather, and his name was A.S. Rana. And he fought for the British during World War. And this man, there's an interesting story. So it's got nothing to do with the today's talk, but it goes like this. He was fighting somewhere in Iraq, and he was presumed dead.
It's rare. I mean, see.
And after 4 years,
you already.
this 6.5 feet of a man arrives at home, healthy and alive. So this photograph that you see is actually on that day when he came back.
Okay.
He fought for the British, took some bullets, and he was very happy, and used to, when we were very small, and used to tell us wonderful stories about the fight that he had, the war that he faced, and as a prisoner of war, how he was treated. On the right hand side is, of course, me. I was in the Navy, and the reason why I joined Navy or my brothers joined Navy was our father, for some reason, broke away from the family tradition of joining army and joined the Navy. And he joined this ship, INS Kukri. And if some of you are aware, this ship fought the 71 war. Unfortunately, it was torpedoed and it went down, killing many people, including my father. I was very small, that I think I must be 4.5 those days. And so that was one reason why we joined the Navy. I mean, all of us, my brothers too. And we had this thing in our minds that since the dad served in the Navy and he died for the country, and so we would like to do the same. And I was barely 16 when I joined. So it is quite amazing. And many people, when I tell this story, they don't believe me. And I'm born 19 September 66. And when I joined INS Shivaji Lonavala, the naval unit, it was August 1982. And the next month I turned 16. So I joined quite early, and my entire training happened in the Navy. Another story connected with this is since my granny or grandmother knew that her husband had come back after 4 years. You can imagine those days, widows had all sorts of problems. And so she was, when the grandfather came back after 4 years, she was remarried to him. So all that tradition, because those days the Antim Sanskar once done, and if the man comes alive, you have to, everything goes back again and he has to be remarried. Anyway, all those happened. So she never believed that my father wouldn't come back, and she always used to say that he's alive. It was only in the Navy when we joined and we learned that sea can be merciless. And if you are down there and if something hits you, it's very difficult to survive. Anyway, so I just gave you this story as to why I joined the Navy. It was just because my father was there. This is the ship that I first joined. It was a Russian-made Petia class called INS Kadmat. It looks small, but it is armed to the teeth, where the Russians leave no space for the human being. They put all weapon, all ammunitions, everything in the ship. So this is one of the ship I first joined. This was very tough to be inside this kind of ship, but it was well equipped with all kind of machinery you can ever imagine. So let me just give you quickly as to what kind of equipment it used to carry. So those from the engineering side may find it fascinating. So this ship has, as the main propulsion equipment, it's got one opposed piston diesel engine with 61 B2, and it is called the cruising engine. It can run for hours together at very high endurance, giving the ship 16 knots maximum. 16 knots is equal to about 25 kilometers per hour. But it has got boost gas turbines. So the one funnel that you see on top, you can see two big exhausts over there. These are gas turbine engines M3, which are big jet engines, basically converted to gas turbine. And they give you a high speed of 32 knots, which is around 50 kilometers per hour, which is pretty high. It's got one turret in the back here, one turret in the front, same kind, 76.2 that is a big shell it can fire. It's got rockets here. It's got torpedo tubes here. So yes, those days, this was the best that you could have. And I joined this ship in 1986. And immediately after I joined, I was sent to Sri Lanka for IPKF operation 9 months. Anyway, from there, I went to a very good looking ship, which is a bigger ship called INS Ranvijay. Very modern in terms of armament and equipment. This is another view. There are 4 gas turbines and there is a chopper which you can carry. These are Kamo aircrafts, anti-submarine, very good equipment. It's got very powerful surface-to-surface missiles right in the front, surface-to-air missiles to hit any incoming aircraft or missiles, one in the front, one in the aft, which we call rear. So pretty capable ship in terms of fighting capabilities. Why I'm telling you all this is I'll just come back to the same point that I was trying to make about the training. This was the most modern ship when I joined. It was INS Trishul, again Russian make, but yes, quite effective, very lethal in terms of combat capabilities. Anyway, so let's come back to the training. So I was mentioning how naval training is a big equalizer, and everybody goes through the same rigor, and there's some purpose and some reason behind everything that we do. So every Sunday you will have to go through a marathon. Every early morning you have to get up, make your bed, rush for physical training, come back. Then there is a theoretical training, because I joined, mind you, in an engineering branch, and people generally have this saying that if you join defense forces, you don't have to study, or rather, if you don't want to study, go join defense forces. There cannot be a bigger lie than that. So, because in the defense forces you join, not only you have to sustain the physical rigor, but you have to study well. And if you don't, then you carry oil drums like this, or maybe a rifle and run on the parade ground if you score less marks in some particular subject. So it's pretty tough. But like I said, everything has a reason. The toughness, the physical training that they give you has a reason. And there is a saying in our academy which says, it goes like this: the more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed in war. And I didn't understand this much till one fine day when that ship I showed you, INS Kadmat, and we were returning from our operations in Sri Lanka. We were very happy that we were going back to Visakhapatnam. But Bay of Bengal is a very treacherous place. Every monsoon, you can have 1 or 2 cyclones or even more. And when the cyclone hits, you will generally hear warnings, and the fishermen and the fishing boats are taken away from the cyclone area. But the naval warships have to go through the cyclone area, because some or other ship would get stuck. It would be a civil ship, and our job would be to rescue them. So when we were passing through one such stage, this was my first year of sailing. So we went through a sea state 6 condition. Sea state 1, 2, 3, it goes like this. 6 is pretty rough sea. And I can show you what it means when I say rough. I think I hope that video works. Just let's have a look at this. So I'd just like to take a break here and to let you know as to what can happen when you get into this kind of sea state. I remember when we were stuck there, one of the ships lost its commander. His name was Commander Phillips. And the reason that ship lost this engineer officer was because of some complaint of high smoke or flames coming out of the exhaust of the engine. So he was the engine officer. He wanted to investigate as to why this smoke was coming and the flame was coming. So he went over on the upper deck to have a look. And generally, when the sea state is very rough, we generally tie steel rods or the wires on the side. So if somebody wants to walk, he can grab those wires and walk. Anyway, in the pitch dark condition, Commander Phillips went on top to investigate and never returned. And this was only discovered after about an hour or so. But then in such sea conditions, very difficult to find out as to where the officer must have dropped. But we had to stay back and search for him in the cyclonic conditions. The sea being so rough, I remember there is a hatch. Hatch is something which allows you to go from one deck to another. And from the engine room, one of the hatch broke and went out into the sea. And every 10-15 seconds, we had huge gush of water coming out from top. We were working in the engine room, thoroughly wet. I was on a watch on the gas turbine. And believe you, when this condition happens, you have to stay put in your controlling conditions because the sea state was so rough. If your engines fail, you had it. So to see that the engines don't fail, I had to keep 36 hours of watch. Now, 36 hours continuously may not seem to be much, but the difficult part was when the engines are running in such a tough condition, you have a lot of problems, especially from the gas turbine fuel filters. Every half an hour, we were supposed to go down, open the filters, allow the bypass to go, and then clean that filter and put it back, just to find that after again half an hour, the other filter will get choked. So this happened, you can imagine, every half an hour to 36 hours, it had happened 72 times. And when this happened, I told myself that this is the kind of training we were given in academy just for the day like this. Because it needs a lot of grit, it needs a lot of calmness and composure in you to assess the situation and to react appropriately. Tough conditions, sea conditions like this, when you have to keep extended hours on the engine room, being alert on all the systems is a tough task. And if the training wasn't tough, then you certainly would have given up. So not only us, there were about 6 ships in company. All the ships sustained similar damage to their structure from the high seas or heavy impact of waves. But then we came back after almost like 2.5, 3 days, came back to Visakhapatnam. Only after we had lost Commander Phillips to the sea. It was a tragic moment for all of us, but then we survived. So that is one part about the training. The second point I want to make about the training is it builds up something called teamwork or camaraderie. Now, what happens is when you are a cadet, you join in groups. Initially, there is a lot of regionalism. Let me tell you this very straight. Even in academies, it happens. So you land up there, you are from Mumbai, and there are about a couple of friends from Maharashtra, 10, 12 of them, you are good. You're like a team. Similarly, there might be a group from Haryana. There was a bunch from Kunjpura Sainik School. I still remember 14 of them. So they form another group. But once you go through the training slowly and steadily, this barrier between you of the region, it disintegrates, gets removed, and you become one. And slowly and steadily, you call yourself batchmates because you have to serve together for 4 years, 3 years, and for the entire training duration. And you look after each other. So much so that sometimes you get punished for somebody, and so because someone had done something, you don't even know and you don't really care because you just go through the punishment. You know that it is for a friend of yours. So at times we are hauled, we are told, give names, otherwise you'll get punished. We don't do it. We just keep quiet and everybody goes through the punishment. And let me tell you this, even our drill officer who give us punishment know this. If we squeal or give up names, we will be in bigger trouble actually. So, but then that builds up the teamwork, it builds up respect and camaraderie feeling amongst us. So that the teamwork, the batch spirit develops then. I still remember there were some cadets who were very poor at training. In fact, the drill is that parade that you do in the parade ground. And it's pretty tough because for extended hours, you are supposed to learn the drill, get onto a perfect timing. And also at times you see that one of your cadets or two of your cadets are not making it properly. So you try to hide them, you try to put them at the back so that they are not seen. So there was one guy called Avtar Chand, I still remember, and he had a very soft voice. So there was this front line which is supposed to do ginti kar. So when the ginti kar says, they say ek, do, teen, char. So this guy, his voice was pretty low. In the parade ground, you have to be very loud and sharp. So it was ek, do, teen, char. So the loud sound used to be very weak. So the drill master, in a lot of anger, came to him and says, "What is your name? Kya naam hai tera?" So he said again, Chand. Basically, he was saying Chand. And he says, "Number nahi pucha, naam pucha hai." Again, this guy would say, "Chand." So we had to tell the drill master that, sir, his voice is very weak. Anyway, more than voice, his drill was very weak. But that is what the point I'm trying to make. If somebody is weak in the group, you don't throw them away. You help them. That is what we learn. And we helped Chand. We helped another called Ram Sali. This guy in the NDA, he learned the army drill. He went into Air Force because he was slotted for Air Force, had an accident, got grounded, joined the Navy. So he had done army drill, Air Force drill, and the Navy drill. So he was thoroughly confused all the time. So similar people, we got to help them. They are part of your team. So we look after each other and we look at our weak team partners, but we never tell them they are weak. We try to help them out. This is an important lesson which I find very, very relevant in the outside world also. This camaraderie that we develop amongst the batchmates in the groups makes us brothers for life. So even after decades of having trained together, having left the service now in this civil world, we look after each other. One call from the course mate and you'll find everybody running. Any problem with the family, with the members, with the children, or a job or an interview here or there, looking for a staying place, we always look after each other, look after their families, we look after their children in same way they look after our children. So we always like a very, very big family, extended family. So that's the kind of feeling develops after long military training together. I remember there's something called a boat pulling exercise in the Navy. Why I'm giving this example is because in the boat pulling, it's a whaler, it's a big boat, 6 people are supposed to sit, and you're supposed to do pulling together. Now, it is not about strength, it is about the timing. Even if you have somebody who's not muscularly very strong, if he keeps the timing together, you will find that the boat moves at very high speed. This we learned during the naval training again. And this is something kind of a lesson for all of us. That is very important when you work in team to understand each other, behavior, characters, attitudes. Somebody would be short-tempered, some get excited very late, some are always on the toes, some are a little lazy, but we need to understand each other so that the timing develops. Once we work in group, if we have good understanding of each other's behavior, attitude, timing, the teamwork is good, the team does very well. So we used to have this kind of boat races often, and very often you will find the team with the best timing may not be very muscularly strong, always would win. Another very important point about training was building pride. Now this is very important again. This building pride is actually nothing but an exercise which provides an identity. That identity within the group unifies the group very well. So therefore, team sports or drill, or even your boot and buckle shining, every cadet takes a lot of pride, spends a lot of time in seeing that his buckle, his boots are always shining. He takes a lot of pride in the uniform. So that building that pride is very, very important in oneself, because it's all for respect. Today, when you talk about soldiers who die for the country, it is not for the money that they die. It is not also that they're, while fighting a war, they are thinking of this great sacrifice they are going to make. No, it is for the unit. So the pride of that unit or pride of that team or the pride of the ship is so important to him that he's willing to go that extra mile, doing that last bit to bring glory to his ship, to bring glory to his team. I think this is something which is very important. In the army, they call it regimentation. Without regimentation, they say the army wouldn't exist. Similarly, for the naval training also, it's the ship spirit, being together, fighting together, or going down together is something that unites you, irrespective of your differences. You may have professional differences, you may have other differences amongst each other, but when it comes to that particular moment, you're all together, standing together. I think that is very important. I would like to just go back to the presentation and show you something which will tell you where I'm coming from. Just a moment. Just a moment, something gone wrong.
You're able to see the slide, sir.
Are you able to see the?
Yeah.
Just a moment. Yeah. Sorry. Okay. So I was talking about the training, I was talking about building pride, and why even the drill that we do or the parade that we do is so important, because it builds up that pride, that teamwork, that spirit of camaraderie amongst each other. Also, what it does is it reduces, when we are trained, we are under a lot of stress. We are allowed to build up something called situational awareness. And this situational awareness is something, again, being able to train your brain to take that split-second decision. On the screen, what I'm trying to show you is a sort of an aircraft carrier. And this you can see from a cockpit of a fighter aircraft landing onto the deck. Now, I'm sure you all are aware that when the aircraft is landing, it's at quite a big speed. And there is only one thin wire which is going to catch him. If he misses that wire, it's only about 0.7 to 0.7 to about 1 second time that he's got to take off again. If he doesn't accelerate fast, he will drop down from the ship. So what I'm trying to say is, sometimes when you're hit or your aircraft is in trouble, you already are stressed, and still you're trying to come and land on a particular ship. The ship is also moving, mind you. You are supposed to act in a manner that is keeping all your faculties working, and then land on this ship is something which takes lot of grit, lot of determination, lot of training. And this is what is, I'm talking about situational awareness training does to you. So you are in a situation in the training in the academy where you are given a lot of conditions, and at the same time you are allowed to take, or you are asked to take some very important decisions there which can affect the lives of your team partners or teammates. In such a scenario, you are assessed as to how fast you can take such decisions. So this is something again where the training is done specially, and it can be very, very relevant in the outside world too. It may not be a life or death situation, but of course equally important. Here, another shot that I'm showing you is of a helicopter trying to land on a ship in a rough sea. So when the ship is moving, your helicopter is of course moving, and then you're again trying to land. At the same time, you try to time the roll with the roll of your chopper so that you land flat on the deck. If you don't do this, if it hits one of your wheel on the side, you will just simply topple and there can be accident. So you can see here, there are ground crew there, and there's a chopper which is landed on the deck right now.
Sir, I think the slide has to move.
Yeah,
Is it
video is
not
not
moving?
playing. No, video is not playing, sir.
Where are you right now?
In the training slide, sir.
Training slide.
Okay. Oh, sorry. My screen is moved already. Maybe I think it's going to take some time. Is it? Now?
No, sir. No, sir. It is only training slide is showing, sir.
Oh, just a moment.
Sir, please come to the presentation mode.
The presentation
Yeah,
mode.
just a moment. Yeah, I'm on presentation mode right now. Just a moment. I just came back again. Let me see.
Yeah.
How is it now?
Yeah. Yes, sir. Now we can see, sir.
Okay, sorry about this. So, so here is again the shot that I was trying to explain how it is important to build up that kind of a training on situational awareness. When you're coming to land on a deck like this, you can see that deck is very short, and if you don't make that correct decision in the last moment, it can be life and death situation for you. Similarly, this shot, which shows that chopper landing on a rough sea onto the deck, is very difficult because you have to time your roll and pitch, that is moving sideways, rolling, along with the speed of the ship, and your chopper is also moving. So if you don't do this, you are in trouble. And if you come flat and if it hits any of your wheel first, you'll simply topple. And with the moving blades, it can be very, very difficult. I hope now you can see all this.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, what is the minimum runway required, sir, landing, sir, here?
Minimum runway.
That length, because it may come out now, because it landed and it will immediately after landing it will run, no?
Correct. So, sir, generally what happens is there is a capture wire on top. It is connected to the catapult system.
Yes, sir.
So, therefore, the distance will not be more than about 150 meters, sir.
Minimum 150 is required, sir.
Yes. But if you miss that, say if you land and the moment you land on the first spot, in the first 15-20 meters is the wire.
Okay.
So if you don't catch it, you have almost like 0.7 seconds to immediately accelerate, and so that you can take off. Otherwise, you are in trouble.
Okay, sir.
So I'm going to tell you a story as to what had happened in one particular case. Anyway, so that part of building courage now. So this is a story about building situational awareness.
Yes, sir.
All right. So the next part is about building courage. So how do you build courage in somebody? It's very difficult to put it in very objective terms. But one way of doing it is putting him in difficult situation, asking him to do something that he hasn't done in maybe in his lifetime. So that is for a cadet. Yes, he hasn't done many things in his lifetime. And you're asking him to do something, asking him to believe in his capabilities. This is like mind over body, they say. So I can tell you about the Naval Academy. Initially, it used to be in Goa, and academy was located on top of a hill. So every Sunday you had this marathon run. So you will go down. It was all right. Going down was no problem. You run through the beach. Beach is pretty hard to run on. If the sand is soft, you had trouble. But that was not the difficult part. The difficult part was when you come back after about 10 kilometers or so, you have to climb that hill. And that is the last stretch, which is very, very difficult. And I think people in Manipal can understand if you're trying to come up the last stretch in front of that, what is it, fitness zone, near that max, what do you call, which circles is that? I think Tiger Circle, I think. Yeah? So there, you can see how difficult it can get. And you will have all these senior cadets and your own cadets who run faster than you, telling you not to give up. And at times they give you false pretense also. They will say, Rana, the destination is only around the corner. It is not. It is 1.5 kilometers still away. But then they are trying to tell you that you can do it. You can do it. Don't stop now because your group will lose. So what basically they're training you is they're telling that your mind can tell your body to work harder. Your body wants to stop. Your legs want to give up. Your lungs are exhausted. You're breathless. But your mind is telling you to go on. Your friends are running with you, telling you not to give up, telling you that you can do it. And that is something which once it happens to you, the second time, the third time, the fourth time, and you yourself are a good runner by now, and you can do it easily. What it tells you is that you're capable of doing a lot more. Something that you thought was not achievable can be achieved, only that you have to put a little effort, put your mind behind it. I think that is what they try to tell you. These camps also, in the end of the training, we have some lengthy camps, very difficult camps. They're physically very, very demanding. But again, they tell you that important takeaway is don't give up. It builds a lot of courage in you. You can think you're invincible for a moment. I can tell you that. And it's no better feeling to see that your whole group survives and completes the task in record time, or maybe stands first or second in the entire competition. Here is a photograph of a captain who went down with his ship. Again, my father's ship. Captain Mullah, everybody knows about him. He was awarded the Mahavir Chakra. His ship was not fit to fight that war. He had all the problems with his torpedoes, with his sensors, sonars not functioning. But he still went to the war because he couldn't have told his people or men that you can't do it. He wanted them to believe that if it comes to the final sacrifice, we should be ready to do it, and we'll do it. When the ship was hit, it was late, pitch dark, and the initial impact might have killed the engineers, which include my father. Many of the people died. Captain Mullah was alive. He was there on top. This is called the bridge. And he locked himself in and went down with the ship. In fact, he gave his life jacket to one of the young officers when he came calling, and he told him to take the life jacket. In fact, he asked him, "Sir, won't you join us?" He said, "Get out and go away. I'm here." And he wanted to go down with his men who had died in the engine room compartment. So that last moment bravery, last moment courage, when you don't think about anything else, only the country, only the unit, or only the ship, is the pride that is built in the naval training, in the armed training. And it comes handy. It is something that we always proud of. There were two young officers, Lieutenant Commander Kapish Muwal and Lieutenant Manoranjan Kumar. They were in a submarine. What you see is some submariners doing yoga exercise. Submarine is another difficult unit to be. And here you can see a couple of people doing yoga in an area which is filled with torpedoes. So all those green cylindrical things that you see are huge torpedoes. So these two officers, Kapish Muwal and Manoranjan Kumar, were on board Sindhu Ratna, which is the submarine. During one of the trials, the submarine battery compartment caught fire. These submarines are submerged. There is no escape for the smoke. It is very difficult. These two officers were out. They went in. They dragged almost like 10 to 12 of the sailors to safety before it was too much for them. And they closed the door and sacrificed their life to save others. Had they opened the door, that smoke would have filled, the fire would have engulfed every submariner inside. So they sacrificed their life to save the others. These two brave officers were in this particular submarine. Again, an example of unimaginable courage and decision making at the last moment. What you see is the ship INS Vikrant. This was the old aircraft carrier, took part in the 71 war. There was one officer, young officer called Debras, who later on became an admiral also in the Navy. So his aircraft, when he flew, the catapult system failed. So he fell in front of the ship. Now when he fell in the sea, you can imagine the whole ship is moving in front on top of his aircraft. Now there is only a very limited time for him to eject. If he does not eject in time, he can die because the ejection would fail and the aircraft will go down. At the same time, there is this big steel ship going on top. If he ejects, the ejection is based on rocket principle attached to the rockets attached to your seat, and it can hit. He could have hit the steel hull with a lot of impact, killing himself. But you can imagine the calmness of that officer, that he was in a very calm state of mind. He fell. He knew his ship's length. He knew the speed of the ship, immediately calculate the time that it would take for the ship to pass over. And he ejected immediately when the ship passed over. And he came out very safely. Later on became admiral. Again, an example of courage, at the same time, situational awareness. So these are just few of the examples. I think I'm running out of time. I'll just keep it short and try to close the lecture on this. But I'd like to show you a few of the slides which are very, very important, especially in the military service training, and have got a lot of importance in the outside world too. Field Marshal Manekshaw, who doesn't know? This man, besides his bravery, was also known for straight talk, which meant that if he saw something which he did not like, he could straight away tell you. He was ordered in 71, sometimes in March, April, to invade Bangladesh, by none less than the Prime Minister. And he immediately told her that it cannot be done. And the reason why he said that my men are not prepared, because many would have to sacrifice their life if I am not prepared. So he asked for the preparation time. Fortunately, it was given. And we all know what happened later. In fact, after the war was over, somebody asked him, do you know the US carrier fleet was there in the sea in the Bay of Bengal? He says, yes, I am aware. And he says, what if they had attacked you? He says, look, I could have handled them. He says, you don't know they have got nuclear weapons. So that those days, General Manekshaw said, well, if they use nuclear weapons, I can't do much. But if they they come for conventional war in Bangladesh, I was so prepared that I could have made them surrender there also. So the kind of straight talk Manekshaw used to do is something that is there in the forces, and it comes from the ability to tolerate or to accept criticism. I think this is something which is lacking in the corporate world or the civil world, even the academic world for that matter. People take things very personally. If you criticize somebody, they generally don't take it as a feedback. They generally get very personal, which is, I think, should not be the case. We should take it as an honest feedback and see the positive things in them. Criticisms are also good. One should take the points and find something very positive and try to improve, and let alone such a person with maybe a different attitude to maybe serve himself. Another point that I want to make is the taking responsibility and ownership. I think that is also very important. This is another part of the training that is built up. When IPKF happened, we all know that there were a lot of sacrifices made by the armed forces personnel. I was also there from part of the Navy, and a lot of mistakes happened. First, in the decision making, the political leadership made a decision in quite a hurry. the military leadership did tell about the problems we could face if we landed there, trying to find an enemy you couldn't distinguish between a civilian and a terrorist in a foreign land. So all those difficulties were told, but yet the decision was made to go there as a peacekeeping force, which later became a fighting force, fighting the forces that we were supposed to maintain peace with. So, but then what I liked about the whole experience was that the military leadership then took responsibility and ownership for all the failures and the casualties that happened. Unfortunately, such ownership never came from the political leadership then. The Indian fleet in its glory and the present day, yes, the Navy is continuously upgrading itself. I think this is also which is very, very relevant in every organization. If you don't grow, you can be considered dead. So in the Navy also, it's continuously improving. We got modern equipment platform, war platforms coming in, being inducted into the services. So this video is about the Navy today. I hope you enjoy. It's a very short video.
New India, a trusted regional power, an aspiring economic powerhouse, can no longer neglect the sea. The Indian Navy builds trust and bridges with our maritime neighbors in the Indian Ocean region, while maintaining a keen gaze on matters affecting India's national security. Going forward, India, a friend with friends, and a merciless foe to our enemies. We must never forget that for India, the sea is where it starts. Therefore, the Indian Navy will forever be combat ready, credible, and cohesive.
So that's it from me. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to speak here today. If there is any questions or any comments, I'm ready to take it now.
Thank you, sir. It is really a thrilling, exciting journey you took all of us around. And see here, as an entrepreneur, I can relate myself. The company is like a ship and we are all its custodians, right? And every one of the company's employees, officers, managers, marketing people, we have to form into a team. Otherwise, definitely, it is like a similar situation only. We have to be working as a unit. Otherwise, we will not be able to go through the rough weathers. For example, practically these last 2 years can be simulated as a rough weather in a business conditions, because no company can be prepared for it, because it's a typhoon, unexpected. And I should thank, and I'm proud to say that my team was strong enough to withstand that. They extended all support to the management, and as you said, we are throughout of the arts. That's a very good experience for us, and you could simulate it. Thanks for that. Rajesh, any other questions you can take it.
Yes, the forum is open for questions, if any from the attendees. We have you can have say 5 minutes. We can take a couple of questions. Sir, one question from my side itself.
Sure.
Since you went through all the training and hardships, what you go through, all the army men, and the qualities you built up during this entire process, and you come out as a strong citizen, a strong person. So in your opinion, this military training or a military term, what we see in the many countries, is compulsory for the students, after passing out or during their course. Should it be made compulsory for the Indian students as well? What is your opinion, sir, on this?
Thank you for that question. In many of the countries, it is compulsory, but there is a reason behind why it is so. they call it conscription. And the reason is they generally have this problem with the supply and demand. So they don't have the adequate numbers in the armed forces, and the population is low. In India, it's the other way. So we have huge population. So therefore, the conscription is not there because the requirement is not there. If the requirement builds up for number, because whenever you talk about training, there's a lot of investment that you have to put in. You talk about resources, you have to spend a lot in that particular training also. So that is one reason why it is not there in India. Otherwise, yes, it could certainly be there in many of the school, colleges, universities now. UGC as well as AICT is pressing very hard on NCC training, on various other forms of school level disciplinary training. So they are pressing very hard on that. And that's the reason, because they don't want to go into the conscription. But other countries are following this because of that very reason that I told you. It was there in Russia. Russia, you have military, militia, or you have this Army, Navy, Air Force, three forces that you need to join for 3 years. You don't get paid. You only paid allowances.
Yeah, got that, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, I have a question, sir.
Yes, please.
Good evening, sir. My name is Neeraj D. Nair. I'm a third year student of MIT itself.
Okay.
I'm an NCC cadet too. Sir, as far as I learn about the military history and all, I got to know that naval missions are not being gone through like Army and Air Force missions. Like at some, there is one, let me tell you an instance, sir. Like during Kargil War, Army had its Operation Vijay, Air Force has Operation Safed Sagar. But that time, Navy too had an operation called Operation Talwar. Operation Talwar, basically, you also know, sir, like Indian Navy blocked all the trade routes of Pakistan. The then Prime Minister of Pakistan, Nawaz Sharif, told that we only have the logistics for 6 months. That was one of the main thing which turned the face of Kargil War. So, what do you think that Indian Navy, Indian Navy, also should get some support, like Army
No,
and
no, the support is already there. Only it is the question as to what you want to portray more. So, in terms of the army operations at Kargil, the confrontation that the soldiers had to take makes a better story than a naval blockade that we did of the trade channels of Pakistan. So, it is only which story you want to show more in the media. It's only that. Otherwise, we know how this was being done at the naval level, and even before that, we had war in '65. Even then, their navy had played its role. After '71, we also had a couple of occasions where we played quite important role, not only about blockading something, but even for search and rescue, or tsunami aids to various countries. At cyclone level, every time Indian Navy is deployed. So those stories are available. Only that what you want to give more exposure and what you keep to the second page is decided based on the sensation that the story will carry. It's just that.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sir, good evening, sir. This is Prithvi. Thank you for the wonderful session. I work as a design manager in Chennai, and I did my master's from IIT Kanpur in 2016. Sir, one point that you made was the training, the hardships that the cadets go through before going on field really help them take a stand, be situationally aware, and quickly make the decision with composure and calmness. Now, a country is a set of large number of individuals. So while it is very inspiring and it's a great value for us to know that the training is helping the cadets, how can there be simple procedures in which the individuals can develop their let us say sense of composure? I mean, of course, there are different methods, but do you have any suggestions on how individuals in the country can develop themselves in terms of their composure and alertness and making decisions?
So this alertness and composure is something which we are told comes by practice. So that means you need to be exposed to such situations where you are observed as to how you take decisions. Not everybody does it right the first time. So you learn from your mistakes and then you retrain your brain and you come back. That's one of the reasons why these days the maritime training, the training that the shipping people get, they need to pass a simulator-based training now. Earlier it was not there, it was not mandatory. So what it does is, like, you can go through all the theory subjects, do all the practical lab, etc. Fine, you may score top there, but you need to then come back to the simulator where you have the entire, for engineers, the entire engine control system there, and they expose you to all the emergencies that you can face in a situation. So, and then they observe whether you take the right decisions or not. And you will never take the right decision the first time. It always comes by practice. So they observe, then they will debrief you. They brief you as to what are the weak points, what you should have done, what you shouldn't do. And there is where the application of that knowledge that had happened earlier is seen. Similarly, for us in the forces, we do have the training in the academy. That's fine. That builds up a lot of qualities in us. But the actual training also happens during something we call as exercises. So I am sailing on a ship, say destroyer, Ranvijay. I was there almost like 3 years. And every now and then you have an exercise. You don't sail just like that for fun. Every time you're sailing, you're out of the harbor, there is an exercise, there is sudden action station, you have to close up there, you have to monitor a condition, there is a requirement, there is a threat, there'll be some other force from your own navy trying to attack you. You need to capture them first before they capture you. There may be a submarine doing an exercise with you. There may be a firing exercise. There may be a missile firing. So it continuously goes on and on and on. From day to night, in pitch dark also, you're supposed to operate. So all those conditions, you are trained through round the clock over a period of time, makes you perfect. So then when the situation actually happens, it may happen, it may never happen in your lifetime. But if it happens, you are assured that you will be calm, composed to take that right decision, because on that decision, lives of many people will depend.
Okay, sir. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rajesh,
Yeah, yes, sir. We are reaching the time now. If any questions are there, you can always write to us, and we'll have it forward it to Commander Ranaji, and we'll get back to you with the answers. With this, we comes to the formal end of the session. Sir, we are very much grateful to you for sparing such a valuable time and giving us an insights of what it takes to be a army man or serviceman. And definitely, the qualities what you inculcate during the training and all are very much relevant in this civilized society as well. And that is why we see a lot of ex-servicemen after finishing their bond with the army and all, they're leading a very successful life in corporate industry as well. So once again, thank you, sir, and we look forward to you once more again in future for more insights in this session.
Thank you. It was a pleasure with talking to you all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.